Hey, good Friday evening to you, everybody. What's up? How are you? It's good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. I am Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is not my typical modus operandi for an evening stream. Usually things are a little bit more planned, a little bit more organized, which is a scary take on the way things are right now. If you know how this channel normally runs, if I'm calling this disorganized. But anyway, thank you for stopping by. It's good to see you. Hello, Winter Wolf. Hello, Jack Photon. Everybody subscribe to Jack Photon on YouTube now. Let's get his numbers up too. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're stopping by. I'm just chilling out tonight. I'm just relaxing. I'm just kicking back and putting up my feet. Tomorrow, I will be at QuestCon Orlando. I have a panel at 12 o'clock, and after that panel, which I think ends around 1, I will be hanging out with Tracy Lesh, who will also be at QuestCon. Now, he doesn't have a panel, but he will be on Artist Alley. Who is Tracy Lesh, you ask? Did you guys do your homework? Do you know who Tracy Lesh is? Tracy is the guy responsible for the visual design of the Mind Flayer. Tracy created the Mind Flayer for Dungeons and Dragons. That's his baby. That's his squid-faced, psionically endowed, brain-eating, lawful evil baby. So stop on by and hang out with me and Tracy. As to what I'm doing in my panel tomorrow, they asked if I wanted to be on a panel or just do a talk by myself. Not because I'm an egomaniac or anything. I said I would do a talk by myself. Not because I don't value what other people there might have to say, might want to say. I just didn't know that I could add anything to a conversation that people who are really into later editions of D&D might have. Canik1 says, I think met at Gen Con in 90s. I don't know. I don't know if Tracy went to Gen Con in the 90s. I didn't go to Gen Con in the 90s. I was very much a kind of more of a cloistered gamer in the 90s. I think it was Heidi Gygax, Robert, who recruited Tracy as an artist. But basically the story from Tracy goes that he and Heidi shared history, and history was one of his strong subjects in high school. So Gary was working on D&D, and Tracy could blow through his in-class assignment in like 20 minutes and leave like 40 minutes of class to do nothing. So he would just sit there and draw. And she sat beside him and was looking over his shoulder and said, could I show my dad your sketchbook? And that led us to where we got to. But anyway. Oh, and welcome, Canik1. Welcome. It's good to see you. I don't think I've seen you on the stream before. Good evening, Padre. Good to see you. Dungeon Minister. Speaking of people who want to boost up their channels, everybody, if you're not subscribed to Dungeon Minister and you want some quality, high quality, basic and expert D&D talk, well, just D&D talk in general. Let's just drop this basic and expert and advanced and OD&D thing. Just some good Dungeons and Dragons talk. Really well produced compared to what I do anyway, in that it is produced. Go subscribe to the Dungeon Minister's YouTube channel. It's just the Dungeon Minister on YouTube. Let's get Dungeon Minister up over 1,000 subs so he can start doing fun stuff with his channel. You're editing as we speak. Excellent. But anyhow, no, I'm relaxing. QuestCon tomorrow basically is what's happening, and I'm just chilling out, just hanging out with you guys. I thought about just like switching everything on and going live when I went live. But I thought, hey, no, I'll actually be there with bells on. Sorry, I went blank. I got a message. Be there with bells on and do the opening credits and everything like that. Strictly D&D or all RPGs? I generally cover all older RPGs. Like, newer stuff gets newer press, and there's a lot of stuff from the olden days that I think deserves just as much talk. So I feel like it's worth talking about the old stuff, because we'll never run out of role-playing games to talk about. There's got to be thousands of role-playing games out there now, right? Covering just about every genre. Even if I stick to everything before 1990, guys, that's still got to be dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens. So we have plenty to talk about. But as far as genre, I mean, classic D&D, basic expert, OD&D, AD&D, actually not in that order. I would say AD&D, OD&D, basic expert, in order of favorites. That's my most favorite stuff, but there's lots of great other things. We actually play, if you're not familiar with, we play Classic Traveler on Wednesdays. We have a Classic Traveler game that my co-host Kyle runs on Saturdays. Why did I say Saturday? Because I'm thinking about tomorrow and I'm looking at a Facebook thing here. On Wednesdays, that we play on Wednesdays. Sorry, this isn't for the Chill RPG. Anyone who's a fan of the horror role-playing game Chill, who may have stopped by thinking I was going to talk, I'm sorry. I've never seen Chill. I don't know how it works mechanically. I don't know if, like Call of Cthulhu, there's an overplot. It's a horror role-playing game, and that's all I know about it. But Chili is awesome. Chili is awesome if you know how to make chili. I'm sorry, Ohioans, you don't. That thin, watery tomato sauce you put on rice or angel hair pasta, that's not chili. It's not. It's not chili. But anyway, so yeah, I have no agenda tonight. I'm just hanging out. Now I will. Skyline chili is the devil. Yes. Beans and chili, absolutely. Some big red kidney beans. Yum yum. But I'm going to warn you guys right now before we get too much further into the stream. The missus is, of course, as you know, she's on the heel. She's on the mend. But if she needs me, I got my messenger up. She pings me. I'll be out. I'll put on some music for you guys to listen to. You can talk amongst yourselves. You can gaze on my books and formulate questions based on them. But I will step away, and then I will come back at the appropriate time. Dungeon Minister enjoys canned chili the same way you enjoy instant mashed potatoes and instant coffee. The Dungeon Minister is going to be fine if the bomb drops. He's got that basement. He's got that basement in the parish housing, and he loves canned food. Greetings, Lord Corian. Good to see you. So there's this YouTuber that I used to follow, and you shouldn't subscribe. You shouldn't subscribe to his channel just because he cannot make money off of it anymore. I think like all of his videos are demonetized. He was an exotic firearms guy, and his channel was called FPS Russia. Now, he's from Georgia, southern United States. He's not Russian. He just put on a bad Russian accent and would get sent exotic firearms, automatic shotguns. I think I know once he actually got to demo a Bofors 40 millimeter autocannon, which is pre-ban because it's made in the 1940s. And it is technically a machine gun. You hold down the pedal and it will just cough through that 8-round magazine in no time at all. For reasons not related to firearms, he went to jail for like 50 days. In that 50 days, he says all he ate was this canned chili. Before he got out, he had contacted his girlfriend and said, hey, find out who sells this. I want to have this chili when I get out. This is the best chili I've ever had. So canned chili is all right. But I prefer homemade. My quick and dirty chili message is this. Brown your ground beef. Throw in a couple of packets of seasoning. Dump in a whole jar of your favorite salsa. Can of black beans. Can of red kidney beans. Bring it to a simmer. Let it simmer for like 20 minutes. And you got some perfect chili there. Tonka Todd, what do I think of firearms or gunpowder in D&D? I think it opens up a whole can of worms. I think it can be fun for a lark. Like if you're doing the Six Guns and Sorcery Boot Hill D&D crossover, or if you're talking about more advanced firearms that might come from Gamma World or some other universe, but everybody's got a pistola. I don't, because everybody is going to come at, like you say, okay, matchlocks take 3 rounds to load and fire. You're going to have somebody who says, my character thinks it would be more efficient if the powder and shot were in a rolled up paper tube that he could simply slide into the gun barrel. Or what if it was a brass tube plugged at one end with like a lead slingstone that was shaped like an arrowhead, but cylindrical, and he just slides that in. Well, what if there was a metal box full of those that a spring pushed up and a lever he worked? It leads to bad places. I don't like firearms in D&D continually. I don't like it, and I don't want those. So don't do that. At that point, I magic missile the player, not the character, the player. Magic missile the player. Those videos, though, the woman mixing chip dips on her counter with her hands. What the heck is wrong with her? I don't know. Yeah, firearms in D&D is kind of Spelljammerish, and I know a lot of people like Spelljammer. So sometimes folks ask me, what do you think of Spelljammer? You've spoken so highly of Gamma World and Six Guns and Sorcery and Metamorphosis Alpha. What do you think of Spelljammer? Spelljammer kind of comes in that unexplored area of D&D that I never really gamed in the 90s. There were so many settings just off the top of my head just that I never played. There was Dark Sun, there was Spelljammer, there was Al-Qadim, there was Ravenloft became its own thing, even though technically Ravenloft is part of Forgotten Realms, but then it's not. It's its own pocket universe. Now, no, I'm not throwing Forgotten Realms, Mystara, and Dragonlance in there. Those lie firmly in 1E, and I was aware of them as I was transitioning to playing other games. Todd says, I just remember the blunderbuss being a thing, and it never made sense to me why I was there. Okay, so you know what? We can do a little let's read on firearms. Let's do this. You've pushed the button. I gotta admit, if I'm in an event or gaming here at the house, I'm super paranoid about food and drinks around my miniatures and Dwarven Forge. The Dwarven Forge, not so much. The Resin Dwarven Forge and the Resin Dwarven Forge is fairly durable. The Dwarvenite Dwarven Forge is essentially indestructible ABS. And don't tell me, I throw in a fire, I could put it in a machine press, that'd destroy it. You know what I mean. Let's see. Okay. So the blunderbuss is not in AD&D. What is in AD&D is Six Guns and Sorcery, which is converting Boot Hill characters to AD&D and AD&D characters over to Boot Hill. If you've got a Dungeon Master's Guide, but you haven't really dug into it, maybe you're new to AD&D, maybe you're just eternal player, never DM. Over on page 112, first of all, we've got stats conversions, but we're really here for guns and gunpowder, right? Really here for guns and gunpowder. So these are what your gunpowder weapons do over on page 113. So arrows, tomahawk, hand axe, etc., all is in AD&D, but we have a Derringer, 1 to 4 damage. That's hardly a threat even to a second level magic user. And look at the range modifiers. Other handgun, 1 to 8. That's anything. That's a Navy Colt. That's a 32 caliber revolver. 44, 41. Just 1 to 8. Shotgun, 1 to 10. The mighty shotgun could potentially only do a point of damage. Scattergun, which is just a sawed-off shotgun, does less damage. Other shoulder arms, 2 to 8. Even the mighty Winchester rifle, 2d4. There, 5, perfectly average. Even a second level fighter in AD&D is going to shrug that off. A Gatling gun. It is 1 electric motor shy of being a minigun. Only does 1 to 8. A cannon, by which I can only presume we're talking about a mountain gun, little cannon about that long on a Cassian. 3 to 12. 3 to 12. 4th level fighter is going to shrug that off. Mid to high level magic user wouldn't even feel it. And dynamite per stick, 4 to 24. That's the bad one. You may optionally allow a save, treating the explosion as if it were a fireball, but base damage must be increased to 6 to 36. So dynamite's a little on the dangerous side. But, and again, right here, and I have always believed this to be true, transfer of firearms to the AD&D campaign, unless you desire to have gunpowder muddying the waters in your fantasy world, it is strongly urged that Boot Hill firearms be confined to specific areas, and when gunpowder is brought into the fantasy world, it becomes inert junk. Ergo, no clever alchemist can duplicate it. Likewise, dynamite and similar explosives become inert. So there you go. That's how I feel about firearms. It just doesn't work. And those are the only firearms, like gunpowder firearms, listed in AD&D. Now, under Mutants and Magic, we get, again, we're just looking at weapons. I don't know. Damage, as shown in AD&D for all weapons except those found only in Gamma World. In the latter case, damage is shown in Gamma World. Those of you that follow our regularly scheduled Friday night Gamma World games also know that a laser rifle does 5d6. That could potentially burn down a 5th level fighter in AD&D. There are some nastier weapons that do like 17d6. It must have been 2E. That we were talking about Spelljammer and other campaign settings. 2E. That's all part of that era when I was not playing. Yeah, and you're right, Kennick. I agree with that sentiment. So there you go. There you go. There's your firearms in D&D. How I feel about firearms in D&D, I should say. Yeah, not familiar with that, Tonka. Just not. Dungeon Manager says, I found that out playing in James K's game. I obliterated a little bit. Yeah, the batters. They're like humanoid badgers. And firing it, I mean, they have a lot of hit dice, but once you start lobbing around weapons from ancient times, black ray guns, laser rifles, torque grenades, photon grenades, fusion missiles, things like that. Hey, I've got a 17 con. I've got 17 D6 hit points. Woohoo! You get shot in the chest with a laser rifle, you know. Can I go over some of the world building stuff in the Dungeon Master's Guide? What do you have a specific question? I mean, world building stuff, the Dungeon Master's Guide outside of combat, outside of notes for exploration, is pretty much world building stuff. So latest AD&D is expanding playable races. I have mixed feelings. Yeah. I mean, I kind of ranted a little bit about 5e last night. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Ken. I'm not really... I've seen a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth about it. It's not what we talk about here. I mean, latest thing, D&D has celebs playing it. It's got all the press. You know, it's got the big multimedia push. And we're lucky to get classic D&D mentioned in Stranger Things. But you got to believe that going forward, you're just going to see classic D&D just getting fucking erased. So we promote classic D&D around these parts. And as I said on Facebook, look, I'm done edition warring. I'm not going to denigrate anyone who prefers to play it. It's just not my cuppa, you know. And I'll rail at Wizards of the Coast every day and twice on Sunday. But if your jam is whatever D&D, that's awesome. I've said before, D&D 5e is a fine fantasy role-playing game. Well, no, Don, you're objectively wrong. I'll edition more with Don McVitie. I'll edition more with him because he knows he's wrong. If you want to play like DirectX 4 games that for whatever reason like vomit themselves and run away crying when you try and run them on anything but that, yeah, Windows 95 rules. Throw it in a VM and play and play Diablo 1 to your heart's content. Let's see, the really old D&D where we only rolled 3d6 for stats and had to assign them in order as we rolled them. Yeah, you and my co-host Kyle. Oh, Doomsword's late. Crap, we got to start over. Hey guys, how's it going? Good Friday evening to you. Good to see you. Good to be seen by you. If you're new to the channel, my name is Bill Silver. I'm not going to do it. Okay, so I can't address that, Kennick. No one would play female characters due to negative modifiers. So the only negative modifier to a female character that I can think of off the top of my head, we can talk about that harlot table. I don't mind that. Own it. I'll own that. The highest strength that a female character can go is 1850. that got Gary in so much trouble with so many of his female associates and cohorts that he immediately stopped using it. They never changed it in the rule books. They should have changed it in the rule books. Super chat to completely start. That's right. Yeah, if you want me to start over, you got a super chat. So the harlot table, because you asked for it. This is open request, right? The funniest. Okay, I'm going to tell this story before we go to the harlot table. The funniest character death I've witnessed in a game. This is a long story. I did not, Damien. Send me the link again. Send me the link again, and I'll check it out. Here is the funniest character death, and it's a long story. So Sherman set the Wayback Machine to 1989. Since the mid 80s, I had been out of tabletop gaming. There was like a 4-5 year period where I did not tabletop game. A fellow who is now a good friend of mine opened and ran a comic store called Comics Plus. This was before the neighborhood we lived in on the west side of Orange County, Florida, completely went to hell. So Rob opened Comics Plus. I discovered Comics Plus. I started hanging around Comics Plus and the people who hung around Comics Plus, and found out that at their bachelor pad, which was on the far other side of the development my folks and I lived in, Rob, Kevin, and Jeff had RPGs going almost every night. And I really wanted to get into a game. I really, really wanted to get into a game, but they were all full. Their Champions game was full. Their I don't know whatever they were playing. Their Rollmaster game was full. Their board game night was full. So Rob's brother Kev, who was not the Kevin who lived in that apartment, Rob's brother Kev says, "Hey, I'll run a Rollmaster based Middle Earth game I've been itching to run, and you can play in it." And I said, that sounds lovely. I'd never played Rollmaster. It wasn't D&D, but it was fantasy, and I knew Lord of the Rings. So on the appointed night that we were to start, I showed up at noon. And we started creating my character. It took us from noon until the game started at 7 to build my first Rollmaster character. It's not an easy process. I don't like Rollmaster. Anyone who says Rollmaster is easy to pick up, easy to learn is lying. So, the appointed hour comes. Everybody else files in, starts to play. They can knock out a Rollmaster character in 30 minutes or an hour. I carefully crafted this fellow. He was a very young Squire Knight of Gondor. Rob was running a burly wild man of the North. Now, we were using MERP source books, so a lot of the stuff that's not in the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit or Book of Lost Tales or Silmarillion, Iron Crown Enterprises filled in. So we start the game. And I'm playing my character as a very high-strung but humorous young man. And Rob is basically playing a murderous barbarian. They trade verbal barbs a lot during the game, and as we're on the road going somewhere, it comes to a head, and Rob's barbarian says, "One more word out of you, you fop, and I'll gut you." And my character wasn't going to take that lying down and said, "I don't think you will." Rob says, I put my hand on my axe and take a step towards him and said, "I warned you." I said, my character draws his sword and steps up. Let's roll initiative. Kev and Rob, they were brothers. Okay? And brothers be brothers. Kev wanted to see Rob's character get put in his place. But let me tell you something. Dice are a funny thing. I lose initiative, advantage, whatever it is in Rollmaster. Rob goes first, swings on me, and does like a 99 F/ critical injury to me when he hits me. It guts my character. It literally tears him open. Somebody tried to heal me and literally did worse damage to me. They're like, well, wait, he's got a couple of rounds, right? Okay, all right, make your roll. And then fumbled low, open end low. And my character that I had spent hours creating dies. I was not happy about it. Kev tried to salvage the campaign, didn't really work out. We moved on to other things. We got into a very competitive months-long game of Blood Royale, which is a Games Workshop quasi role-playing game set in medieval Europe. That's like Risk meets Stratego meets lightweight role-playing meets Diplomacy from Avalon Hill. We played that. I finally got into a hero system game. Played some hero system. Champions. Call of Cthulhu games that Jeff ran, always lots of fun. When I bought MechWarrior the RPG and everyone knew I had it, because they all played Battletech to a greater or lesser extent, everybody wanted to play a MechWarrior RPG. So we did MechWarrior RPG. It's one of the guys made up heraldry for a mercenary unit. It was very cool. Very cool. So a couple of things happened. In 1990, some mustachioed lunatic decided to invade a tiny little country along the Gulf Coast of the Persian Gulf, and Jeff was deployed away. That broke the troika, and shortly thereafter, the roommates went away. And my gaming grew less and less. Fast forward to about 1992, 93. Get a call at work one night. It's Rob. I hadn't talked to Rob in a long time. How's it going? It's going well. You want a game tonight? Now this is important. I didn't have a car. I worked way down on the south end of Orlando. retail job. I said, I would need a ride. He said, I got you. Very cool. Very cool, Rob. Thank you. Swings over and picks me up. Go over to his apartment, which is also on the south end of town, not that far from the mall. Who's there but Kevin, another friend of theirs, me, Rob. They are concluding a, I don't know, year and change long Rollmaster game. Once again, set in Middle Earth, but it is so far out. It might as well have been Greyhawk or something else. So I tell Kevin, I don't have a Rollmaster character handy, and he's like, just tell me what you want to play. I said, I don't know. I just mentally went there. I said, a guy who's like a scout, like I think like Subutai and Conan. And he's like, okay. So he just kind of knocks some stuff together that looks good. And so we enter the evil wizard's castle, and I say, I'm going to scout ahead because I got a thiefly guy. I split the party. And I go ahead. And Kevin says, hey, come here, Bill. So we have a DM sidebar out in the foyer of the apartment. And he's like, kind of describes this role play type scenario where I'm captured, like the evil wizard hits me with this dust of domination. And he's like, you will return to your friends. You will speak nothing of this. It's just a charm person powder form. It says, but any who attempt to strike me, you will defend me against them, even if they are your friends. Yes, sir. Now go. So I come back. Didn't find anything. Okay. We continue on. Fight some more bad guys. I want you to keep in mind, this is 4 or 5 years after the first time I ever gamed with Rob. Just keep that in mind. We go on. After we fight some undead minions and so on, there's the bad guy in his room. And we've got some miniatures set out. I had brought some miniatures with me, some dungeon terrain kind of stuff. And we're right in the room. And we're all stating our actions. I said, Kevin, come here. And we step aside. And I back into the foyer and I said, who's the biggest threat to the wizard? Kevin leans over, looks at the table, leans back to me and says, Rob's character, Black Bardigan. Gotcha. We sit down. Rob says, I advance on the wizard. And I say, because I had my bow ready, Rollmaster works a little differently than D&D. I fire an arrow at Rob. Now, I have percentile dice here. Rollmaster is a percentile dice game. I could roll these dice all night and say before I rolled them what I thought they were going to be. I think this is going to be a 59. It's 84. I think this is going to be a 33. 29. That's close. I think this one's going to be a 99. 76. You get what I'm saying? I can't make dice do things. All right. There are people who can, they can put a die on their hand and on a certain number and they claim they're going to flip, but there's always going to be some uncertainty in it. Some physics are going to screw with them, right? I shoot Rob's character with an arrow. Roll your attack. It's a critical. Roll on the crit chart. 66 E puncture. If I live to be 120, I will never forget the description for that event. Arrow pierces foe's cheeks. Foe dies in 12 rounds of agony. I shot Rob's character through the face with an arrow. Kevin just leans back. You got to understand something about my buddy Kevin, and Kevin's been a guest on the show. Kevin's a Romulan. I mean that. Kevin just leans back, just smiling ever so slightly. Whoever the other guy that was with us there busts out laughing. Rob jumps up, throws his pencils or dice or whatever he was holding on the ground, holding in his hand on the table. Clack. Points at me and yells, "You did that on purpose. That was because I killed that Gondorian squire of yours." I couldn't make the dice do that. I rolled it out on the table, not behind the GM screen. Kevin didn't roll it. Rob was incensed. He was infuriated. See, I had just come over. I hadn't seen these guys in maybe 2 years. They had played this game for almost a year and change. Rob was absolutely certain that I had somehow killed his character on purpose. He was incensed. Now, do you remember at the start of this act of the story, at the start of Act 3, when I told you that Rob had called me at work and asked me to come game, and I said, I can't, I don't have a car. And he said, no problem, I'll drive you. Rob was my ride home that night. He was so pissed. This is in South Orlando. I lived in West Orange County, Florida. For the entirety of the 30-plus minute drive home, I got an earful. Awkward. He ranted and raved. Now, the one thing I'll give Rob is this. He knew I couldn't have made those dice roll that way. But to crit and to get that particular crit, that is literally a 1 in 1,000 chance of that happening. So there is an epilogue to this, and I love telling this. Around 99 or so, myself and Kevin and Rob and our wives at the time, I think somebody else may have been there. We're all over at Rob's house, and we're all, having beers and just chit-chatting. And I was telling this story, and we're whooping it up. And even Rob's laughing at this point, because this is like 1999, right? The past is in our rearview mirror. And he did drive me home. And so I come to the punchline, and I tell Rob, I'm like, there's no way I could have done that on purpose. There's no way that could have been on purpose. And there's kind of that pause when everybody's laughing and the laugh dies down, and folks just kind of, wipe the tears of laughter from their eyes and take a deep breath. Kevin fills in that silence by saying, actually, Bill, and we just broke up laughing at that point. Somehow somehow Kevin had wanted to get Rob back for killing my first role master cat. He didn't know how. He was gonna keep inviting me over to games and keep creating those scenarios until one of Rob's loud-mouthed characters, and Black Bardigan, the character I killed that night, was one of those loud-mouthed characters that drove Kevin up the wall, the way Rob played him. He was bound and determined. He was gonna do it. And it just happened to be that night. So I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I hope you guys enjoyed that story a lot. We all laugh about it around here. But believe me when I say Black Bardigan had it coming. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you all enjoyed hearing that. Arrow pierces foe's cheeks. Foe dies in 12 rounds of agony. What a night. And he still drove me home. Which is awesome because I think it's been like a 23-mile walk back to my domicile. Somebody had asked me something and then somebody else jumped in with, do I have any funny D&D stories? What was it? Somebody asking me about the harlot table? Was it? Harlot table, that's right. So let's see. Let me do this. So it occurred to me, I'm not sharing a document, I'm sharing a screen. And I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss this. Let's see. Shut down. Closing some apps here. No. Group chats and decide it's not zeroed in, no action changes. T2K, they blow up an enemy's armored car. Supply sergeant hops on the M113, starts yelling at the enemy, celebrating. They hear the thump of a mortar launch. Group chats and decide it's not zeroed in, direct hit on APC roof with the supply sergeant. Oof. That is brutal. All right. Dungeon Master's Guide. This is always an easy one to find. Not one of them? No, that's not. Okay. So what does anyone want to know about these tables? You better go edit. Quick question. 145-ish minute video that tells the whole story, or two shorter ones? Two shorter ones. I would recommend two shorter ones. And you can edit and listen. You don't have to leave. All right, so let's add this to the chat. Yeah, nobody wants to hear anybody run their damn mouth for an hour about Dungeons and Dragons. That's just crazy. No, you don't. Just watch your lip flap. You'll know where to cut. Like I know anything about editing. Okay, so the infamous harlot table is, and this is like right in the middle of the curve, so you can catch this a fair amount of the time, is in the city town encounters matrix. A 40-41 in daytime, but a 44-50 in nighttime. And there's all kinds of city or town encounters. Have a good night. Thank you, Dungeon Minister. I will tell her so. So let's look at it. Let's see what it is. And if you guys have any specific questions, you can ask me. Harlot encounters can be with brazen strumpets or hardy courtesans, thus making it difficult for the party to distinguish each encounter for what it is. In fact, the encounter could be with a dancer only prostituting herself as it pleases her, an elderly madam, or even a pimp. In addition, to the offering of the usual fare, the harlot is 30% likely to know valuable information. Well, let's see if she does. Oh, a 28. She knows some valuable information. 15% likely to make something up in order to gain a reward. Well, we know she knows valuable information. Let's say she didn't. No, she's not going to lie about it. And 20% likely to be or work with a thief. Oh, 9. She is a thief who knows valuable information. You may find it useful to use a subtable below to see which sort of harlot encounter takes place. 1 to 10, slovenly troll. 11 to 25, brazen strumpet. 26 to 35, cheap trollop. 36 to 50, typical streetwalker. 51 to 65, saucy tart. 66 to 75, wanton wench. Now, as the curve goes, you're going to get a typical streetwalker or saucy tart right in that range. 76 to 85, expensive doxy. Hope you got a platinum or two there, sailor boy. 86 to 90, haughty courtesan. 91 to 92, aged madam. I guess you might want to roll on the cougar table in the monster manual there, Rower. '93 to 94, wealthy procuress. 95 to 98, sly pimp. 99 to 100, rich panderer. An expensive doxy will resemble a gentlewoman, a haughty courtesan, and a noblewoman. The other harlots might be mistaken for good wives and so forth. Wanton wench sounds like a good fusion dish available. All right, so let's see. She's a thief. She has valuable information. But how is she presenting herself? 19, a brazen strumpet. She's just all up in your character's business. But did anyone have any questions about these? Any at all? I mean, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. I don't think this is bad. I don't think this is all. I mean, you know, current years told me this is a perfectly valid line of work for women to get into. So I don't really see its inclusion in D&D as being a bad thing. Rather, quite the opposite. This is pretty forward thinking, wouldn't you say? All things considered, current year. But no, it doesn't bother me, you know. And of course, you're just free to not use it. You are free to not use this. You're free to not use anything. I mean, a lot of this stuff, to me, doesn't fit my sensibilities that well either. I mean, yeah, it's kind of fun, but the idea of bumping into a demon or Nicodemon or devil or mezzademon, maybe a doppelganger, but night hag, A Rakshasha, fellow DMs, a Rakshasha is way more of a problem for a party than a sex worker. Oh, I like your thinking there, Damien. Were-rats, were-tigers, werewolves, a will-o'-the-wisp. I mean, do you really want a will-o'-the-wisp? A wraith, a lich. A lich. You've got a lovely city of 900 people, and there's a lich just strolling around. Now that's thinking outside the block, unicycle peon. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Look at that great artwork right there. Miracle the Chaotic by David A. Trampier. How many of you guys made adventures about this one drawing right here? How many adventures did this thing start? Let's filling up a shopping basket with spell components. Yeah, human souls. Like, I would adjust all of these. And I have, in fact. I mean, you know, a paladin from 6th to 9th level. I think that's a lot more interesting and awesome than a lot of these. Now, a lot more problematic to me is 73 Ranger. Check to see if race is human or demi-human. I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, does that mean dwarfs can be rangers, or gnomes, or halflings?" No, it does not. Yeah, I mean, these are almost like adventure hooks when you get to certain points. And I've had some fun with them. If you guys have watched like the Tuesday night live stream AD&D game, you know that a lot of these I've come to, like what was it? The party's magic user. I rolled a random encounter when he was out getting his new suit of clothes made, and it was a city noble in the city of Greyhawk. And the guy got in a silent contest to have an outfit out-tailored, and he shut him down. But I wouldn't get too hung up on that table. That is correct, Kennick. You had elves, dwarves, and hobbits. And you didn't get half elves and a breakup of available classes until Greyhawk. Like, for example, elves could adventure as fighters or magic users, but before they adventured for the day, they had to determine which they were going to adventure as. And if they went out as a magic user, they couldn't put on armor or pick up a sword. Dwarves could fight as fighting men up to 7th level, 8th level, and halflings up to 4th level. And that's what you got. Finger than that wanton wench tossed her drink and after. So I tipped my hat and slowly rode away. But yeah, that's really demon or devil. And right there, if you look under demon or devil, says encounters must be carefully restricted and they may be ignored entirely if desirable. For example, near an evil temple, there may well be a demon or devil. A succubus may be roaming at night. A wizard may have conjured a demon, etc. Treat these encounters as highly special. Only one demon or devil will be encountered. So you're not going to bump into a pit fiend in a back alley of a 200-person frontier town. It's not going to happen. Doppelganger encounters will take place only near deserted places where there are entrances to the underworld, ruins, and the like. Not going to be in your city center. It's much more likely that you'll run into a drunk or a gentleman. So any more questions? Anything else you guys wish to discuss? Because I'm here for you. I'm just chilling out. I'm just relaxing, chillaxing, slacking. Ask away. Yeah, I'm assuming we're still on. Unless someone mistakenly summons a demon. Yeah, fortunately in AD&D, it's kind of hard to mistakenly summon a demon unless you know their true name and they hear it, and that's only like demon princes. Oh, we were going to talk about magic item creation. You know what? Why don't we do that Monday night? Monday night, we're gonna crack open the books, and we can look at it briefly. So we go to page 46. I think that may just be where it talks about. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Enchant an item. When casting the permanency, the magic user need only roll a 2 or better with D20 to avoid loss of a constitution point. So yeah, you've only got a 1 in 10 chance. Yeah, I rolled a 12 right there, so you're fine. Damien, I have done that to players before. Rolled the demon encounter, treated it like a harlot encounter, was a succubus, player lost multiple levels. Yeah, this is a pretty weighty topic to try and get into on a Friday night. Well, one thing I do want to get into, let me see here. We're just going to remove that for now, as we're just going to kind of shoot the breeze. But I tell you what, Monday night, we'll crack down and we'll talk about fabrication of magic items. Don't let me forget. I want to take a minute here. Whoops. Favorite D&D character I've played? The World of Greyhawk. I'm the DM. I'm running everybody. I'm controlling everyone. So, the World of Greyhawk. Favorite single individual character I've run in D&D? I haven't gotten to play a long stretch of D&D in such a long time. I just started a Paladin on Monday night. I'm letting my buddy Dan run the game for a few weeks before we return back to my AD&D game. And I did roll up a Paladin, so I'll let you know how that guy goes. But if you're new to the show, first of all, if you just come by, if you've just like stopped by and you're like, what is this about? YouTube told me this thing, or I was looking for, info on the new Dungeons and Dragons. So I looked at D&D on YouTube, or I followed a hashtag on Twitter and it led you here and you like what you see, please click that subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications. And give the video a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't, give it a thumbs down, but I do ask that you tell me under the video what you didn't like so I can make a better video. Even though this is Friday, I'm kind of giving myself a bit of a pass because I'm not really doing anything. I'm just hanging out. But anyway, but if you are new to the show, you might have noticed we got the little ticker going across the bottom. If you want to support the show on Subscribestar, or if you want to support us on Patreon, or you make a direct donation to us, there's all the methods. They're linked down there. You don't have to. Your subscription is what I covet the most. But some do. Some people do, and I thank them, and I will take a moment to thank them and say thank you to Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru, Mobius, Kevin Reynolds, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damien247, James F. Keck, William Smith, the Dungeon Minister. He was in here a few minutes ago. You guys saw. Manny Wall, Mark Corey, Kevin Wood, who is the architect of that funny story I told you guys, Todd Sharp, the increasingly frighteningly named Carnivore Farmer, Rob Knows I Can't Say That, Chillis, Jeremy Rule, Bo Ganora, Mikey Mank, Sky Hernstrom, and Pete Sullivan. Thank you all so very much for supporting the show as you do. I do appreciate it. Pit Fiend, Pit Thing. The real reason the harlot table was removed, enough players died to surprise succubi that others stopped trying to have romantic encounters. Well, maybe. There's something kind of prattling on about. But yeah, Monday we'll talk about magic item fabrication. Tomorrow I've got that thing. Check us out. We're going to be Weeb. I don't have a mouse in my pocket. My buddy Tracy Lesh is going to be down at QuestCon Orlando. I will be there. I have a thing. I will stand up and I will talk. It'll be much like the show at 12 noon tomorrow. So if you happen to be in the Orlando area and you want to check that out, check out QuestCon. Let's see. I tab up there. I'll give you guys the deets. So that is actually at 5916 Caravan Court, Orlando. You can check us out there. Hope the travel weather is kind for you. Yeah, well, I mean, it's across town from me, so it should be. How often do I get to be a player? I like to play. I rarely get to play AD&D. Usually, if someone's running something, they're not running AD&D, which means, I'm going to run an AD&D game. Awesome. Great. So it's Castles and Crusades, but we are using some stuff I like from Osric. I get to play AD&D very, very rarely, which is why I'm going to savor and cherish the next 5 to 6 weeks playing under Dan's captaincy of his AD&D game he's running. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be oodles of fun. Demonic City. I think I saw that anime. I saw that OVA back in 1992. Demonic City Encounter. Maine's running a haberdasher. Like, but yeah, come check us out. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I wonder. Panels. Okay, panels. They finally got panels up. So let's see. 12 p.m. Join the author of The Lost Crypt for Frog God Games and the host of a YouTube channel, The Dungeon Delver, as he discusses OSR content and D&D history. Well, that's going to be fun. Now I know what to talk about. Now I know what to talk about. But anyway, I'll get yelled at if I don't do this, so I will mention that we do have a Discord. Yes, we have a Discord. And if you want to come hang out, say hi, have fun. Please do. Stop by, say hello, have fun. So that's what I will be doing down there at QuestCon. I'll discuss OSR content and D&D history. Less OSR and more history, I can tell you that. As I've said before, I'm not a huge OSR fan, which, considering that I started it, you think I would be. But, I see what goes on in the OSR sometimes, and I just look at my hands like, what have I done? So, I don't know. That's really about all I've got, guys, for tonight. I'm sort of running out of gas. I got stories to tell tomorrow. Please come down. If you don't come down to hear me run my mouth for an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half or however long it is, come down to see Tracy Lush on Artist Alley in the exhibitor hall. Let's see, vendor hall, panel room. Oh gosh, it's a stage and everything. Now I'm scared. Yeah. Yes, we've got a bloody Discord. Yes, I like Viv. So I guess the vendor hall is artists and creators. Good Lord, lots of artists and creators. So Tracy Lesh will be there. He's 302. I think that's the gaming room. I could be wrong. So their map is not really complete because it just says exhibitor hall. Oh, my palette. I haven't decided on a name yet. What it is Dan's little mini campaign started this past Monday, but we had only been home like a day and a half from the hospital. I was not even into it. I just started making up my character, so I haven't even decided yet. I'll let you guys know later about that. 302. Okay, so yeah, trade. All right, let's see where he's going to be. So I'll share this with you guys, and then I gotta ride on out of here. Let me see. So you go to QuestCon's website. So at 12 o'clock, I'll be over here in the panel room. And Tracy Lesh, he is 302. So when I run crying from the panel room, I can just sprint across the registration hall and dive into his booth and hide and weep like a baby because I made an ass out of myself. I don't know how many people are going to be at this. That room could be like cheek to jowl, or I could literally be sitting on the edge of the stage just kicking my feet because nobody's in there. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like. But anyway, I think it's going to be fun. You know what? I'll do just some like real quick, like momentary minute live streams from my phone and just have some fun with that if I can at all tomorrow. So that's really all I've got to talk about tonight, guys. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out with me and hearing my story of shooting my friend Rob in the face with an arrow and what prompted it, and talking about the harlot table. And I'll see you guys on the flip side. I'll tell you how QuestCon went. We'll have a post QuestCon report. Maybe Tracy will be up for Monday night. I'll talk to him. I'll see if Tracy wants to come on Monday night. We'll kind of break it up a little bit. We'll talk about magic item creation. We'll talk to Tracy in a post-con kind of way. So you guys have a lovely evening. I love you all. Please take care of yourselves. Please be good to each other. Thank you, everyone, for your well wishes for the missus. And don't worry, someone will be here tomorrow to hang out with her. Have a great evening, guys. Good night.